Has Tua said anything, by the way? Oh, okay. I'm looking at David Furonis'
It's today, right, that he talks?
Yeah, well, he's like right now. So
To answer your
Furonis
question,
says Tua opens his press conference Wednesday by clearing the air and owning up to the mistake of his postgame comments. Sunday, Tua Tagovailoa admits he had some throws that were off Sunday against the Chargers as he dealt with hip and thumb injuries, but he's not using it as an excuse.
why did he
I'll
say
take
it
Drake
then?
May.
No. Why would he say I have hip and thumb injuries if he's not using it as an excuse?
I mean, but I hate that anyway with any professional athlete. They go, well, this is going on, but we're not using it as an excuse. But that is an excuse. Like I hate that when, the Panthers, who had the broken sternum? Wasn't it obvious that Kachuk was like, he was skating around there. He looked like a shell of himself. And they're like, well, we're not going to use this as an excuse. No, let us know that his sternum is broken because we're all noticing that he's skating around like that, like a zombie out there.
Isn't it an explanation more than excuse? I was going to say exclamation. Yeah, I think that's a.
I have Tobin literally just sent me this as we're talking, about 1:20 minutes of Tua answering some questions. You guys want to hear it? I think I can play the audio here.
Yeah, I would like
to.
In
moments like that, how tough are those discussions when you have to have them when there's, like you said, there's a lot being said from all kinds of directions about what you said.
Mm-hmm.
How tough is it to sift through everything to make sure they get your point of what you meant and clear the air?
Well, I think it's the intent, right? What was the intent? And I think just the emotions, the built-up emotions after the game, no one wants to lose, but just not allowing myself to stay in the moment and, just kind of get outside of that. You just have those kind of conversations. What is the intent? And then you kind of move from there. So we've had some conversations with that.
In general, do you feel at this moment that overall team culture is still an issue?
Joe Shad.
I wouldn't say so. Having conversation with guys today, seeing the way guys are out there at practice, I wouldn't say so.
What sort of reaction have you gotten in your conversations with teammates?
Is that Hal Habib?
Would you classify it as understanding or anger or frustration or what sort?
Well, I would say guys had questions about it, right? So you gotta answer those questions, the why, and then some of the whys were like, man, at that time I didn't think of it like that, and so as I said, that's something I got to be better with in protecting the team, and just can't do
that. Will Manso tweeted out, credit to Tua for handling that well. Apologize and move on. He messed up. That's clear. Part of it was emotions of losing, but you can't do that. Teammates had to hear a better explanation. Will says, will it linger? I'm guessing learning from it and winning games would help. Solana, you have Tua's actual opening statement before the media started asking him questions?
Yeah, here it is.
All right, so, I, as a leader of this team, of the Miami Dolphins, the comments that had been said, I would say I've made a mistake, and I'm owning up to that right now. I've talked to guys on the team about it, talked to the leaders about it, and, that they know my heart. They know that the intent was right, but no matter the intent, the intent can be right, but when things get misconstrued or however the media wants to portray it, that leaves a void of silence and a lot of questions for the guys on our team. Now, being 1-5, we talk a lot about, all right, we got to get this going. We got to get this going. Come in excited to go to work. Forget about the noise. And I feel like I just added onto that for our guys. For myself, I got to look at myself as the leader, protecting the team. I don't feel like I did that to the best of my abilities. I felt like I let the emotions of the game get to me after the game. And, that's something that I can learn from as a leader on this team. And what happens in-house should be protected, and none of that should have gotten out. And so want to publicly apologize about that, want to move forward, and now want to focus on the Cleveland Browns.
All right, so that was his opening statement. Josh, thanks for joining us. Have a good call in Tennessee. We appreciate it. No, I mean, I want to discuss this obviously, so you can stick around in the 4:00 hour as well.
Yeah.
All right, what's your initial thought? I'll ask Crowder first. What's your initial thought as to his opening statement there?
He got his ass cussed out. He sounded like a little kid that got in trouble, and now I was wrong. I admit I was wrong, and yeah. He wasn't thinking about it, post-game emotions, but the frustration is building. This comes from last year, the year before, and all that. So I think he's getting tired of being treated like a little kid. And now I get a mistake. Now I get yelled at. I think he's fed up.
The thing that kind of bothered me about it, obviously on the surface, like credit to him for apologizing like that, but he shoehorned in trying to blame the media again for taking the quotes out of context. I don't understand what he's doing there. And then he talks about, well, yes, Solana, he said something about how the media took it out of context afterwards. He absolutely said that.
He said, however you want to spin it, the media.
Nobody
but I would say this. Is he referencing the fact that it got clipped into this 15-second thing and the media nationally didn't give the context where he came out and said, I threw 3 interceptions. I played a poor game. I have to do better. Is that maybe where that little snippet is coming in from Tua about, hey, the media portraying it a certain way?
I don't get it, though. All we heard over the past 48 hours was that Tua needs to shut up, take accountability, talk about himself at a press conference, and don't talk about anybody else. And I don't know, guys. I just heard that from Tua Tagovailoa. For the first time this season, I heard a guy walk up to the podium, address the media before a question is asked, and say, yeah, that was on me. And I get what you're saying, Appel, where he says, however you guys want to spin it, but he's not wrong. Everything this guy says gets spun into something that comes with the territory. I'm not dismissing what he said. What he said was stupid. But for the first time this season, I just heard Tua step to the podium and say, bro, I effed up. I got to be better.
He gets credit for that, but I don't know that he comes and does this press conference if his head coach doesn't call him out yesterday, if all of his teammates are leaking out to other members of the media saying that they were unhappy. So, I don't know if this was just the reaction.
When you say you don't know it, I mean, maybe he does. I mean, you don't know.
And that's fine. But for me, everything with him rings hollow to me because someone asked, I forget which one of Manso Shad and Hal Habib asked him, which I love. That's my favorite game during press conferences is not watching it, trying to figure out whose voice it is. He mentioned again about, at practice, guys are staying late and they're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, that's what you said the entire offseason about how this culture is getting so much better. You guys said it this week, and I'm sure at other times as well. Like the fact that this is what's the narrative around the team after an entire offseason of saying, hey, the culture's getting better. We got rid of the problems. It's all the same stuff. And it is such a cluster with, I don't want to, it's a cluster bleep of things that are self-inflicted here. And again, surface level, credit to Tua for coming out and apologizing.
How else do you try to move past it other than what he just did?
Right. Of course. He had to do that. And so he gets credit for that. It blows my mind that, you're talking about this is year 6 for him. It's not his first year as a captain. It's not his first year as a starting quarterback in the league. And I'm having to learn how to appropriately take accountability and talk in press conferences in year 6. I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. And it's crazy that I'm in this place now where 7 weeks ago, I was banging on my desk in here talking about how when Tua Tagovailoa plays and he's healthy, they win. And I've done a complete 180 on the guy. And part of me feels bad for that. And I don't know what blinders I had on before, but I was so wrong about everything in relation to this.
I think it would have been funny if he came out there and he's like, hey, have you guys seen Anthony Weaver's defense lately? Because you try to remain in a good mood and level-headed after a game.
I think Tua, with the frustration of losing, is going through an identity crisis because he's not really a leader, but they're forced him to be a leader. And now he's getting asked about a bad team and he's not playing well. And it's frustrating, but he's not a leader, but he's talking about people. I think personally he's going through a lot. And that's why Cam Newton keeps saying, I don't like the talkative Tua. I think Tua's trying to figure out how to be a starting quarterback that has to answer for a bad team.
Yeah, well, this is kind of rare territory for him, to be quite honest, because he's always looked better than the team has looked, and this is the test of metal, right? And it didn't go well after that game.